Hello, and welcome back to Christine's Mom Fix. I am Christine. Today, I want to talk about tips for pumping at work. So, I recently went back into the office. I had been working from home for the majority of Weston's life. He's 9.5 months, and I am now, just going back to the office. So, I was a little nervous. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still breastfeeding. How am I going to do this when I get to work? Because I didn't do much pumping like prior to this. I would do like my night pumps, but the majority of my feeding journey has been directly breastfeeding. So this is a whole new ballpark for me and a whole new thing for Weston as well. Now that he's at daycare, he's doing bottles more frequently. So now that I'm pumping at work, I just wanted to go over a few tips that I would recommend if you are also on this journey of, pumping at work and now like still in the breastfeeding journey. So the first thing I want to say is schedule it. I cannot tell you the first few days Weston was in daycare, I kept forgetting to pump because typically, I don't know, when Weston's home, I have a better idea of okay, so I fed him at 6, I'll have to feed him at 9 and then 12. It's usually on the same kind of cadence. But now that he is at daycare, sometimes you just get wrapped up in your work, wrapped up in whatever you're doing. And pumping is like the last thing you're thinking of because you're not directly feeding the baby. And at least this was for me. So I would look at the clock and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have not pumped in 5 hours. This is way longer than I typically ever go. And it would just ruin my schedule for the rest of the day. So what I started doing is I started putting time on my calendar, my work calendar, or if you don't have a job that you have a work calendar, maybe alerts on your phone, because a lot of the iPhones, you can get notifications if you put reminders. So I definitely recommend doing some sort of reminder, at least at the beginning when you are trying to adjust to the new normal. And since I've been doing that, it's been a lot better journey, but trust me, the first few days I kept messing up. So I just want to warn you that it happens, but this is how you can prevent that from happening. The other thing I recommend doing, if you are like me and you have an office job, I recommend reaching out to your HR team or your office manager of some sort and see what type of accommodations they can do for pumping at work. So luckily for me, my company, we do have nursing rooms that are specifically designed for the nursing mother. Some companies maybe let you use a conference room, or some companies maybe you have to use the bathroom, or they've got some sort of situation where they can help accommodate you. If not, maybe you drove to work and you can use your car. Either way, just figuring out ahead of time what your plan is just kind of takes a level of stress off of it, because I just imagine going to work and then not having planned this ahead of time. I'd be like, uh-oh, what do I do? And then let's say you only have 30 minutes, but then you spend the 30 minutes finding an area to pump. So I definitely recommend finding that spot ahead of time. And if you are in a conference room, or for my case, I have the nursing room, block it on your calendar. So we have to reserve the room in order to get the room to use it. So I recommend maybe doing it a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, just setting a certain cadence, like a weekly, every time you're in the office or at work, blocking off that same time so you never forget, so people don't schedule meetings over that time. So you can guarantee you're going to get your pumping session in and you're not going to miss anything. So those are just right off the bat 2 big recommendations I recommend for pumping at work. Let's talk about the tools you'll need. So first things first, you're going to need some sort of bag. I just use a simple tote that I have. I chose a larger one just because I do store I'll show you everything I'm going to store in here, but I also, in addition, put my lunch in here and just anything else I want to bring to work. So I chose the larger tote. You definitely, if you got the extra money or you just would prefer to use a tote designed to carry your pump, absolutely look into it. I know there's tons of options on Amazon. I knew I'd be only pumping for a couple months and it'd only be once or twice a week at work, because that's how often I'm going into the office at this current moment. So I didn't really see the point of investing in another tote that will only be used a handful of times, which is why I chose this one. But again, if you are going every single day and you aren't starting at 9 months, you started at 6 months and you plan on breastfeeding for a year or 2 years, it doesn't matter. I think if that situation, you can invest in the proper tote to carry your all your supplies. But either way, no matter what your journey is, having some sort of way to carry all of your stuff is a must. All right, so the next thing I recommend, this is a pump. So there are 2 options you can do. You can either do a portable pump, which is this one right here. It's really convenient. It's small, it doesn't take up much room. Or you can bring your heavy duty Big Bertha, this guy. I honestly bring my Spectra. I chose bringing my Spectra, even though it's a larger, bulkier item. It is so much, it's way more efficient when it comes to releasing the milk from me. And I feel like I can get a good pump in 15 minutes, whereas the portable one, it takes me about 30 minutes or so to achieve the same goal. And yeah, it's like more convenient, but I honestly, sometimes you don't have that much time during the day, or you just don't like pumping like myself, so you just want to get it over with. So that's why I actually prefer bringing my Spectra, and I will not change that. I love bringing my Spectra. I honestly stopped using my portable pumps a few months in, just because I mean, at the end of the day, this is still portable. It's just like super bulky and really heavy, but I can still just bring it around with me. And in our nursing room, we do have like tables that I can set my pump on so that I don't have to hold it. But even if I had to put it in my lap, that's probably what I would do. But regardless of which pump you prefer, having a pump is key. A pro tip about this is when you are pumping at work and you don't have the ability to like clean it every single time, what I recommend is bringing a Ziploc bag and then taking your little pump parts, storing it in the Ziploc bag, and then sticking it in a refrigerator. I do this with my pump parts when I go to work, just because sometimes I really don't have the time to like clean it each time I'm about to pump. By keeping it in the refrigerator, it's keeping it so the milk doesn't like go bad. And I clean my pump parts every single day, so I only do this up to 24 hours, but I'm pumping about 2 to 3 times at work. And what I do is I just take my pump parts from my Spectra, place it in this Ziploc bag, and store it into the refrigerator for until my next use. And that's been working great for me, because that is also something I do at home. Like when I'm done pumping at home, I stick it in the refrigerator until we're cleaning it the next day. So I think, yeah, max 24 hours. If you do have the ability to clean every single time, obviously that's the best way to go, but not everyone has that luxury. Or maybe you just don't even have like a sink at your work, or I don't know, there's a lot of reasons that it could be difficult to clean. So that is a pro tip that I love to follow by, because it's convenient. I like easy, especially your life is busy, so making anything more simple is great. And last but not least, we have to talk about storing the milk. So there are 2 options. I'm going to show the option I go with, but there's also a backup option. So the thing that I purchased is this chiller, and what is great about it, it holds your milk for a very long time. So it's multi parts. You can put ice in here or your milk, and then you can either put your ice or milk in here, just one of the two. There has to be ice in one component, either this or this, just to keep the milk cool. I love this because it allows me to store my milk for the day. I personally am using the smaller size because I do have I don't produce as much milk. I'm not like an overproducer, and I'm only pumping like once or twice into this, so I don't need the larger size. But they do have a larger size if you do need to pump several times in a day, or you do produce like, I don't know, 6 to 7 ounces at a time. I would definitely recommend the larger size. The smaller size just works for me. But this is fantastic. It really, I don't even need to put it in the fridge. So I like put the ice in it, put it in my tote bag, go to work, pump, pour it in here, keep it in my tote bag throughout the day. And when I get home, I dump this into my pitcher at home, and then I freeze the milk that I am storing. I've put it into little freezer bags, and then I freeze it. So I really like this because it is so small, so convenient. Even the large one is still, it holds a lot of milk, but it's still not like as bulky as the Spectra. It's great. So this is option 1. Option 2, let's just say you don't want to invest in something like that. You're like, let's just keep it simple. That is when you bring your milk bags. I would just bring a handful of milk bags, depending on how many times you plan to pump. I would bring some sort of cooler bag, and then I would bring some ice packs. So I think if you were to go this route, then you would definitely, after you pump, you'd want to put everything back into the fridge, just because I don't think these ice packs are going to last all day long like the chiller would. But if you just want to make sure your milk is refrigerated because you want it to be fresh. So this option is a great backup option. All right, I like to keep this nice and short because I'm already bringing in my laptop, bringing in my lunch, bringing anything else I need for work. So having like just as simple as I can when it comes to pumping at work is like the goal. So I hope this is super helpful. It's been really helpful for me. It's definitely made my transition back into work a lot easier, knowing that if I prep this the night before, I'm good to go the next day. Don't forget, I post every Sunday. So if you want to subscribe and get the notifications, I will see you next week. Bye.